The king of AI video is back. Kling 3.0 is currently being rolled out and it's really good. So in this video, I'm going to go over all its cool features so you can get a sense of what it can and cannot do. Let's jump right in. Now at the time of this recording, I believe they are rolling out Kling 3 to Pro and Premier users, and they are going to release this to everyone shortly after as well. Let's jump right in with some demos. So I'm on Kling and I will click on Generate, and here is where we can select from Video 3. Now Video 3 has this very unique feature called Multishot, which I'll show you in a second. But first of all, let's turn this off and let me just show you a generic image to video example. I'm going to upload this image as the first frame and then write the warrior in the foreground sprints towards the monster in the background, then engages in an epic fight. And for now, I'm going to turn off Multishot so you can see just a normal image to video generation. All right, here's our result. So you can see she is sprinting towards the monster and then starting to engage in a fight. This is one continuous shot. All right, now I'm going to generate this again, but this time I'm going to turn on this multi-shot feature. Now there are options for you to customize this further, but let's just leave this all automatic for now and then press generate. And here's what I got from that. Alright, so as you can see, it now introduces some hard cuts within the video. So this scene is actually generated using different shots, and this actually looks a bit more cinematic. Right now, the default is just 5 seconds, but down here, I can also drag this all the way to 15 seconds. And if I do that, let's generate this again with this multi-shot feature, and it should make the scene even longer. Now, I'm just going to leave this empty for now. I'm not going to customize it any further. Let's press generate. Alright, here's what I got from that. Very cool. So by default, it breaks this up into 3 separate shots. So if it's 15 seconds, then it's like 3 shots of 5 seconds each. And as you can see, the characters, both the female warrior and the monster, remains consistent across all 3 shots. The character consistency is phenomenal. Now, those are just a few quick examples of differences between a regular video generation versus this new multi-shot feature. But of course, you can customize this multi-shot feature even further. So I'm going to upload this image, and let me get rid of this. Now over here, I can click on custom multi-shot, and here is where I can specify what exactly happens for each shot in the scene. For example, for my first shot, let's write fast zoom into the girl's face. She looks terrified and shocked, eyes wide, breath caught. And you can also set the duration of the shot up here. So let's set this to 2 seconds. And then we are going to add the next shot in the scene. Let's set this to 3 seconds. And then for the prompt, let's write a mysterious man appears from the shadows in an alley, snickering. And then let's add another shot. The total duration of these shots can be up to 15 seconds, but for this, let's just set it to 3 seconds, and then let's write this. The girl panics and starts running away toward the background, high action, chase, shaky handheld camera, fast motion. Now, because right now I have these 3 shots with 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and 3 seconds, the total duration is 8 seconds. So over here, let's also set the total duration to 8 seconds. And that's pretty much it. Let's press generate. All right, here's what I got. And this is perfect. It follows my prompt exactly. It's first zooming up to the girl's face. She looks terrified and shocked. Then it cuts to the next shot, which is this man appearing from the shadows in an alley, and he is snickering. The sound is perfect. And then shot 3 shows the girl again. This time she panics and starts running towards the background. And indeed, this is a high action chase with a shaky handheld camera. And as you can see, this also works with vertical video formats as well. This is a lot more cinematic, and you can create a lot more coherent stories with Kling 3 instead of just like one 5-second clip. Here's another test. So let me get rid of this image. Let me also cancel this custom multi-shot. And this time I'm going to test its ability to generate anime. So let me upload this image as the starting frame, and then yes, let's also turn on custom multi-shot and let's get them to speak some Japanese. So the first shot would just be this first frame. Let's get the guy to say this, And then for shot 2, instead of showing this same scene, let's do a close-up of the girl and then get her to say this. And then finally for shot 3, let's do a faraway shot from above and then get the boy to say this. Now it's important to make sure that the total duration of the clips is what you set down here. So 2 plus 3 plus 3 is 8 seconds, and indeed we have 8 seconds set over here. Let's press generate. Alright, here's what we got.
いい景色だな。
風が気持ちいいね。
ここまで来て爽快だったな。
Again, this is really good. It follows my prompt very well. For shot 2, it is a close-up of this girl, and she looks exactly like what I uploaded in the reference image. And then for shot 3, it is a faraway shot from above. Now, there is some slight flaw with shot 3. If you freeze the frame and you zoom in, the girl seems to be missing arms. But from far away, I guess it's not too noticeable. And the Japanese was pretty much perfect. This is way better than the previous version of Kling, which can't even do Japanese or other non-English languages very well. But for Kling 3, they've explicitly said that it supports multiple languages, including these ones, as well as different dialects and accents, which I'll show you in a second. Here are some other multilingual examples.
숙제 다 했어? 왜 여기 있어?
시험이 너무 무서워.
걱정 마. 넌 잘할 거야.
Disculpe, ¿dónde está la Plaza Mayor?
Por allí, a 2 calles, muy cerca.
Muchas gracias.
And you know, the crazy thing is, you can even enter a prompt in English and get it to speak that out in a different language. For example, we can prompt the person to speak this English dialogue out, but in Cantonese. And here's what I got from that.
你成乜冇啲講緊價值，流程咁亂嘅，你唔好翻諗翻角度啦。我明都要睇最終版。
Let me show you one last multi-shot example, and then we'll move on to other cool stuff that it can do. Let's just do text to video, so I'm not going to upload any image as a reference frame. For shot 1, let's do a satellite zoom. The camera plunges from the clouds towards a churning ocean. And by the way, it's highly recommended that you also specify the camera action within your prompts, because Kling 3 is really good at actually understanding and generating those movements. So that's the first shot. It's going to be 3 seconds, and then the second shot would be a surface break. The water explodes as colossal tentacles burst upward. That's also going to be 3 seconds. And then for the third shot, let's make it a boat deck point of view, people running in terror, and then the massive tentacles slam onto the boat and destroy it. Intense, shaky camera. Now, the total duration of these would be 9 seconds, so we also gotta go down here and drag this to 9 seconds. And then let's press generate. And here's what we get. Very nice. Again, you can see it's following my prompts very well, including the camera action and what exactly happens in the prompts, and everything looks very consistent. Now, this latest Kling 3 also has a video editing feature. You won't access this in Generate, but instead in this Omni tab. Alright, so down here, you can select Video 3 Omni, which is their latest omni-modal model. Now, I reviewed the last Omni 1 model a few weeks ago, and this allows you to do pretty much anything. You can swap the background, you can change the color of stuff, you can swap the characters, you can add characters, and you can do all of this from just uploading images and prompting it using natural language. So this is just like Nano Banana, but for video. And this latest Video 3 Omni is even better quality. It's really good at consistency. So here's an example. I'm gonna upload this image of a car, this image of a woman, and this image of a dress. Notice that this dress is super complex. I specifically used this dress to see if it can get the details consistent. Let's make a video from all 3 of these reference images. So you can refer to your references by typing @ and then selecting the appropriate asset. So for example, let's do this woman wearing the dress in image 6. She is walking up to the car in image 1 and touching it. And let's put them in a desert background. Now, again, it's highly recommended that you add in camera movements in your prompt, because Kling is really good at understanding this, and it's going to generate some much more cinematic generations. So for here, I put dynamic camera movements, fast, zoom, and orbit. And let's make this ultra detailed. Now, you also have the option of setting this to a multi-shot video, but for us, let's just do a regular video of 5 seconds. Let's press generate. All right, here's our result. and you can see the consistency is really good. It rendered the dress perfectly, even though this is a really complex design. Plus the woman indeed looks like my uploaded image, and the car looks exactly like the car in my reference photo. The only minor flaw I would say is that the details of her face aren't that good, especially as it zooms out, but other than that, it follows my prompt exactly. She is wearing the dress, she is walking to the car and then touching it. This is in a desert background, plus the camera does have a fast zoom and orbit movement. Now, because Video 3 Omni can also take in videos as input, which we can just edit with natural language, let's take our video and then plug it back into Omni. And then here, let's make the woman wear a kimono instead. And then let's also make the car red. And here's our result. It's able to follow my prompt very well. It does make her wear a kimono and it does turn the car red. Now, there's a lot more noticeable noise with this generation, especially with the details of her face. So it's not good with like generating details of things from far away. Now, unlike the previous Omni model, which couldn't even do native audio, this Omni 3 can also do native audio, plus it can also do multishot. So here's an example of using this Omni model with multiple references, with audio and multishot all together. I'm gonna upload these two photos of different boxers plus this background, and we can just get Omni 3 to get these two to fight in this background like this.
유교. Whoa.
Now, another impressive feature about this is this can do up to 15 seconds of continuous video. You can set this up to 15 seconds without turning on multishot, so the entire 15-second shot is continuous.
Morning.
Morning.
If you want to level up your video production with Kling 3 even further, you need to check out Higgsfield, the sponsor of this video. This is easily one of the best platforms for content creation, bringing together the best image and video generators all in one place. And of course, they've already added Kling 3.0, so you can use it directly on their platform. You can use all of the best features of Kling 3, including text to video, image to video, start and end frames, and more. For example, let's enter in this prompt and press generate. Here's my result. Now, of course, Kling 3 can do a lot more. For example, you can enter multiple prompts to create a continuous long video. Here's an example with these 3 shots, and let's see what it gives us. As you can see, everything is very high quality and consistent. Now, there's more you can do with this. You can also use Kling's O3 editing model, which is extremely powerful. For example, let's take this video and make it night and snowing. And here's our result. It's now insanely easy to edit videos with just natural language. Whether you're creating high action scenes, emotional close-ups, multi-character dialogue, or smooth cinematic shots, Kling 3 handles it all with a level of stability and realism that's honestly hard to beat. And you can try out Kling 3 as well as the other top video and image models in Higgsfield today. Simply click the link in the description below. So those were some of the most impressive features of this latest Kling release. Now, of course, they also added a major improvement in just normal video generation. So let's also test out my series of really tricky prompts to see how good this is. First, here's a woman doing an impressive breakdancing performance, including flips and intense spins. The camera is aggressive, precise moves with speed ramps and whip-like acceleration and deceleration. And here's what I got. Finally, we have a video generator that can actually make a decent breakdancing video. None of the other video models, including Vio or Sora or Hi-Lo, can actually get someone to breakdance like this. Now, if you look closely, there are still some errors with the anatomy. For example, her neck there kind of like dislocates near the end of the video, but it still looks more physically realistic compared to the other video models. Or here's another example. For the prompt, I put a gymnast doing an acrobatic flip on a balance beam, and here's what I got. everything does look physically correct. She doesn't have like extra limbs or missing limbs. Her head's not like coming out of her butt. However, the flips still look a bit weird. Let me know in the comments what you think. However, this still is a huge improvement from the previous version as well as compared to the other video models, which can barely make someone do a flip without adding some extra limbs. Next, of course, we got to do the classic Will Smith test. So I'm going to upload this image of Will Smith eating spaghetti, but let's write, he says, bro, there's no need to test this prompt anymore. Kling just crushed it while eating spaghetti. Then massive explosions occur in the background. Let's press generate and see what that gives us.
Bro, there's no need to test this prompt anymore. Kling just crushed it.
And I mean, everything is perfect. The expressions, the lip sync, the explosions, plus the audio of the explosion, everything just looks really good and much better quality than the previous version. Alright, next let's test out its ability to generate expressions and emotions. So we have a woman laughing really hard, then looks shocked, then bursts out crying, then she looks excited. And actually I'm going to turn on this multi-shot feature and let's see what it gives us. Alright, here's our result. She's pretty crazy, but this does follow my prompt exactly. She is first laughing really hard, then she looks shocked, then she bursts out crying, and then she looks really excited. It's really good at generating different expressions. And you can see because I turned on this multi-shot feature, there's like a slight zoom in or zoom out between each expression. Alright, next I tested out a fight scene. So here my prompt is 2 kung fu masters fighting on a city rooftop, rain and lightning in the background, fast movements, intense high action, the camera orbits around them and whips in and out. And here's our result. As you can see, everything is a lot more consistent and coherent compared to the previous versions. This looks like a legit fight scene. It's quite intense and high action, plus it follows the camera movements that I specified exactly. Now, if I put this in slow-mo or pause certain frames, there still is some flaws in the details of this. For example, sometimes the face is not really consistent. The hands and fingers are also kind of blurred sometimes, so I'm being really critical here, but there still are some errors in terms of getting all the details correct, especially in these fast-moving shots. Here's another high-action text-to-video example. A group of ninjas ambushing a heavily armored samurai in a bamboo forest with swift sword strikes, acrobatic flips, and leaves swirling in the wind. It's really hard for all the other video generators out there to actually do a decent sword fight plus acrobatic flips. And here's what I got. Now this has got to be the best generation that I've seen with this prompt. None of the other video generators even come close to this level of consistency and actually following my prompt. But that being said, there still are some noticeable errors with this generation, especially if you play this in slow motion. So notice that the swords are kind of messed up, plus there are some inconsistencies with the leaves and when the dude does a flip. It's not perfect, it's still lacking the fine details, especially for these high action shots, but it's still a major improvement compared to what we have before. Now I find that Kling 3 also has a very good world understanding of certain things. For example, if I get it to generate Squid Game but the players are overly polite and apologetic, here's what I got.
Red light!
I am terribly sorry, madam. Please forgive my foot.
Oh, please do not trouble yourself. I quite forgive.
So, it does kind of generate Squid Game. The characters don't look exactly like the Squid Game characters, but it does understand, the red light, green light game, and it does follow my prompt. The players are overly polite and apologetic. Next, let's see if it can do 3D animation styles. So here's my classic test. A princess wearing a glittery white dress. She's running away from a massive red dragon with glowing red eyes, 3D Disney Pixar style. And this is really good. It does look like a Disney Pixar princess running away from this massive red dragon, plus it even added some exciting cinematic music. Alright, next here is a physics test, so we have a man riding a unicycle and juggling red balls. Again, unfortunately with these high moving scenes, then the consistency and the details aren't as great, so the edges of the balls are messed up, but it does show the dude actually riding a unicycle and juggling balls. And then here we have a professor explaining the Pythagorean theorem on the whiteboard. None of the other video models can get this correct so far.
You see, the square of the hyponish is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides.
Alright, so it's not too bad. It did mispronounce hypotenuse. It was able to understand that the square of that is the sum of the squares of the two sides. And, it got the formula at the bottom correct, even though the diagram at the top is messed up. None of the other video models could get this, so I wasn't expecting Kling to get this either. And then here's a motion graphic test. So the prompt is a motion graphic highlighting the country of Kazakhstan on the world map. The voiceover is a woman with an Indian accent describing the history of Kazakhstan. And this time I set it to a vertical video format. Here's what I got.
This gas tank, a vast Central Asian nation, boasts a history spanning over 2 millennia, marked by ancient Silk Road trade and nomadic heritage.
A lot more errors here. It can't really label where Kazakhstan is on the map. It also got the world map completely wrong, but it was able to generate a woman with an Indian accent. Alright, so those are some of my quick tests. Hopefully that gives you a good sense of what it can and cannot do. The most impressive feature, in my opinion, is definitely the multi-shot option, where you can specify what happens in each shot and stitch that together into a coherent story. Next, here are some specs for your reference. So, if you compare this to the previous version of Kling, 2.6, then version 3 can do a lot more things. Out of the box, it can already do start and end frames, plus the audio and the lip sync is just a lot more realistic. It also has this multi-shot feature, plus it supports all these different languages and different dialects and accents, plus you can output up to 15 seconds in duration, and it's flexible. It doesn't have to be 15 seconds, you can set it to like 4 seconds or 8 seconds and so on. And then here are some additional specs for this Omni model, which is like the Nano Banana for video. So compared to the previous Omni 1, Omni 3 has a lot more features. This also supports native audio and multi-shot, whereas the previous version could not even generate audio. And notice that for both Kling 3 and Omni 3, it can do up to 1080p resolution. Anyways, that sums up my review of Kling 3. It's definitely a huge upgrade. They've introduced so many new and cool features. My favorite one is definitely the multi-shot one, where I can actually start to create some coherent stories instead of just generating a separate 5-second clip. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. At the time of this recording, they just released it to Pro and Premier users, but they are working around the clock to release this to free users as well, so stay tuned. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you, so if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week, I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel, so to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.